everybody. Welcome into Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We are speaking today with the Louisiana District 51 State Representative, Miss Beryl Amedee. And thanks for joining us, man. I'm glad you can be here because y'all are about to get real busy, and yes, you got a lot of stuff coming up. But actually, I guess before we wanted to start talking, there's a couple of open meetings that people might be interested in. One starting on Wednesday of this week, and then another one coming up on the 25th of January.
That's right, that's right. For those people who've been following the saga of our next voting machines or voting systems, they may be very interested to know that tomorrow, on Wednesday, January 19th?
Right.
Yes, 10 a.m. at the State Capitol, we have the Voting Systems Commission who will be meeting. And it's a public meeting. People are welcome to attend. As far as I know, it's going to be accessible live online if people would like to watch it from home. And so it should be an interesting meeting.
Were you expecting any changes? I mean, any major changes? Because we were one of the first to kind of go with a computerized system. It seemed like Louisiana was ahead of the curve for one thing. It's compared to hanging chads and stuff like that in Florida. Do you think things may change because of the way we're voting, maybe possible going to more at mail-in and that kind of stuff? What would change?
I'm not sure. The voting system could be something that's very much electronic, or it could be something that's completely paper. I mean, this is what the Voting Commission is looking into, and they have to make certain decisions on what kind of requests for proposals will go out, and then what the criteria will be for accepting the next voting systems that we have. The beautiful thing, I'm told, about our current machines that we use in Louisiana is that while they might have been state-of-the-art to us when we first got them, we've had them so long that they're really not easily hackable. Like Russia can't access them because they don't have the ability to go online and do the things that the more modern machines do that have been used in other states. And so maybe sometimes it's a good thing that we didn't move too quickly several years ago to purchase our next voting systems, because we might have been the ones in the headlines. Sure.
No, I'm so proud of Louisiana. Our vote's always in and it's always count. We're not waiting for like New Orleans to swing the whole thing like some of these other states have had over the past. CPRA is also always a big one, and that's coming up on January 25th, right?
Yes, and that's the Coastal Master Plan. Every year they do a whole round of public meetings so that the public can give input and review what their plan is for the coming year. There is this overall plan. It's a long-term plan, and what they're doing each year is they just adjust it for what the most projects will be in the coming year based on the budget and what funding is available. And so there's the opportunity. It's going to be at Nichols, and people can go and view the plan, look at maps, talk, ask questions, give feedback. That's what it's for.
Do they are they going in with a different mentality with the infrastructure bill and all that's happening recently? Do they have a different mindset now with CPRA?
I'm not sure what the changes are going to be that they'll be proposing this time. I expect that they're fully aware of all of the challenges that may be coming with the policy of the current administration that might be different from past administrations, and they will adjust the projects that they recommend accordingly, because it certainly won't do us any good to expect certain projects that the current administration just simply may not agree to.
Right.
We should do what they would allow while the money is there and get it done.
Yeah, on that note, and I know we had something else to talk about, but net zero by 2050, I guess the governor came down with that yesterday or the day before. How realistic is that for the state of Louisiana, and how much would that hurt to get there?
How realistic is it? It depends on if you want anybody to still live here. Right. Yes. I'll just say I don't believe that net zero is realistic at all. And for now, maybe we should leave that at that.
Right. Yeah. No, I think all of us are like going, well, where did this come from? And I mean, a lot of our livelihood, we all grew up in an area that kind of was an energy area, and now suddenly, I don't know. So anyway, it'll be interesting.
I can say that the industry is responsive in that right now the plans of the larger oil companies reflect some of the changes at the administrative level
Sure.
and with policy and with funding. And so just as a practical example, did you notice in the past few years how many of the companies that we have here locally have changed their focus a little bit, roll with the punches? How many have gone in the past decade from building oil derricks to building ships, for example?
Right.
So we're resilient. Our business and industry leaders are resilient. They're also practical, and they're very aware of what's coming down the pipe and what will be allowed, what will be funded and promoted, and what won't.
Right.
And they're willing to adjust.
And look, we're all for that. It's just how much are we willing to how much pain are we ready to take? Looks like hydrogen's going to play a big role in that. Natural gas is going to play a big role. So all of those will be important. All right, we have about a minute left, and when we want to come back and next one, we'll let you preview it right now. There's a big reappointment and redistricting that's about to take place, and y'all going to have to make some tough decisions there as well.
That's right. Every 10 years with the census numbers, we have reapportionment, and that's where we have to look at the shifts in population and adjust all the district lines for government districts accordingly.
Yeah, we're not losing any this year either, but I know, there will be some movement. There's been some population shifts in our area with oil economy, with hurricanes, with different things. So there's been some shifts. So there will be some movement. So that'll be interesting to talk about. And then we talked about redistricting, reappointment process, and the dates that are coming up. February is just a special session for that. So tell me about that and what's going to happen in that. I guess it starts from the 10 to 20 census, and then you make the choices out of that, right?
Right. We're going to be dealing with the numbers that have been reported from the 2020 census. And the special session starts on February 1st, and it runs through February 20th. So we have to be finished by the 20th. The session is really focused just on this, so we won't even have other bills, maybe resolutions or something, but the only bills will be bills related to reapportionment. And so the legislature is in charge of redrawing the district lines for several different entities. Of course, the legislature, the
Right.
House, and the Senate districts, but also Congress, BESI, the Public Service Commission, and and some courts.
Right.
So it's going to be a busy session, even though it's just focused on the one topic.
You think all of those will change a little bit?
I believe they all will change a little. I know that there are many districts that, standing alone, aren't required to change because while their population may have gone up or down, it was so minimal that it falls within the acceptable margin. The problem is, if you think of the state like a big puzzle, you really can't move one district
Right.
line without moving a few.
Right. So let's look at number one and a map, and you brought in some great maps, and you talked about puzzle pieces. So as we look down, you see that's we're looking at the parishes, right, and the population.
This is correct. This map shows the differences in population from the 2010 census to the 2020 census. And the key to the map, if you look at all of the districts, all of the parishes that are yellow, that means they had very minimal change. And light green had a little growth, and as the greens get darker, they had more and more growth. But if you look at orange, and as it gets darker to red and then burgundy, they had significant changes in the downward direction.
Right.
So they lost population.
Yeah, so you can see that. A lot of people moved to St. Tammany, Calcasieu, and the North Shore in particular, Baton Rouge, and Orleans Parish picked up people too. So now let's look at the maps. And the second map we have here is actually the current districts. And of course, you're 51 right there in the light blue.
That's right. This map shows how our current state House of Representatives districts look. And this is for the whole Bayou and River area. This doesn't really tell you anything about the change in the population. It just shows you the shapes and sizes geographically of the House districts that we have to work with.
So just to set it up, and I know you guys, it can all change, but you're in 51, Jerome Zerang's in 52, 53 is Tanner McGee, 54 is Joseph Ogeron, and Fontenot's in 55. But again, those can all change in a hurry. And then St. Blanc's over there and St. Mary, which
Yes.
will affect. So as we look at the appropriation,
Malapportionment.
sorry,
These words. The changed areas.
yeah,
Yes.
that's number 3. So now you can see who's losing and who's gaining.
Yes, this chart, if you look at the areas that are written in black, there were changes up or down, but not significant enough to require that those district lines be redrawn. But then when you look at each of the districts that are in green, those districts grew at a level that requires the district lines to shift a little bit. They have to lose a little bit of population so that they can be appropriately sized. And then, of course, the districts that are written in red lost, and so their loss was significant enough that they need to gain population so that they are the appropriate size. And that means there's a lot of need for some lines to move, sometimes a little bit, sometimes a lot.
There would be no consolidation in something like this, though. They wouldn't, at this time, they wouldn't say, hey, all of a sudden St. Mary's is going to take St. Martin. They could never do that.
No, they wouldn't just...
They're not going to affect the size of the number of people in the state legislature.
Oh, no, I don't expect that we will gain or lose any members, any districts.
Right.
But
they will move lines.
They will move lines, and some of the shifts may be barely noticeable, and some of the shifts could be dramatic. If you see the numbers on this chart, these are not necessarily extreme, but in certain areas of the state,
right,
they're even greater. On this particular chart, the greatest population loss came from District 58 with 7,000. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people
to lose. And so District 58, which is currently
St. James,
yes,
Vacherie
and that's
area.
Representative Brass's area. That district is going to have to gain a lot just to be in the acceptable margin.
Well, and as you look at it, and we take a look at one other map, it's a great way, and we'll come back to this a little later, but as we look at map number 4, you can see where, you might want to take some folks to help St. James, but all the ones to the west are all losing population as well. So it's just tough to find a place to take voters.
So people who love puzzles, this would be a fascinating project for you. If you look at a district such as number 58, which has significant population loss, and you figure out that you have to find 7,000 people, the other districts around them are the ones you have to take them from, and not all of them can afford to lose.
No, that's would be a heck of a puzzle for sure. You guys are going to have trying to move people around where there's so few. We've lost so many people from around this area. Probably worse since the storm hit too, actually.
Yes, but we are required to follow the numbers as reported by the census. So even if I could ride through a certain neighborhood and see that all the houses are demolished and there's no population there right now, it doesn't matter. By law, we must use the census numbers.
Right.
And always hold out hope that even if the whole neighborhood's demolished, they can still come back.
Right.
So that can happen.
Yeah, yours should stay pretty stable. I mean, you hadn't lost too much, but yeah, they will be pulling on different areas, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Something I'm very interested in is the congressional maps, and yeah, you could take this one out. And we're talking about Governor Edwards is trying to get another majority-minority district, which in a red state, I find, I don't know how that's going to work, but he has the final right to veto if he doesn't like what y'all might send to him.
That's right. And in the past, governors have vetoed the map sometimes, and whatever gets vetoed is likely going to end up going to court and being decided by a panel of judges, and that's how the process works.
Yeah, and I guess looking at the population, they feel that the state could benefit from another majority district. But like I say, everything's politics now. It basically might send another Democrat to Congress, whereas Louisiana's a pretty red state. It seems like there'd be a lot of people against that.
There may be, and that's going to be some of the conversation and discussion in the committees as the maps come forward. I know that there are proposals out there to add another majority-minority district. I'm not sure that the actual population demographics from the census require that. So that's going to be what the committees will study.
Right, I see. Let's talk about what else is going to happen in the session. There's a lot of other stuff going on.
Well, right after we come from the special session, we get a little bit of a break,
Right, yeah.
and then we go right back for the regular session.
At least y'all not cutting everything like y'all have in the past, right?
Well, you brought it up. The current state budget is, I love to use this term, flush with cash.
Oh, absolutely.
Kind of, sort of, not really though. What happened is our budget is currently artificially inflated because of the excess federal COVID relief dollars that have been flowing in. Now, we do have some additional sales tax revenue and stuff like that, but really it's not a realistic, sustainable budget. It's one-time money because it's coming from relief dollars for not only COVID, but now hurricanes over the past few years. And so we are going into a regular session. It's not a fiscal session. So at this point in time, we won't be entertaining bills that will increase fees and taxes and all that. Instead, I believe the majority of bills we're going to see will be all over the board. There are so many topics right now that are being discussed. I know that I've been working on a list of potential bills, and everything's still in the drafting stage right now, so I don't have anything set yet to be able to give you bill numbers, of course. But I'm looking at the possibility of a constitutional amendment protecting bodily autonomy, and that would mean that it would be a bill going before the voters of the state to determine whether they would like to put the reins on government to say that the government cannot require you to have any particular medical procedure, and that might include immunizations.
Right.
And others are related to what we've been through the last 2 years. For example, I've been looking at if there's any way we can bring some kind of tax amnesty to landlords who went, many of them went without a whole lot of rental revenue throughout 2020 and 2021. So that's a possibility. Then there's always the request to put a requirement on certain benefits, like SNAP benefits, for those who are able-bodied and have no dependents, that there would be a work requirement. This might be a good time to do that, seeing as how everybody and their brother's hiring.
Sure.
So that's something we could consider. I've been looking at expanding what we have in state law that's called the Parental Bill of Rights. Right now, it's specific to schools, education, but I may want to expand that beyond just education. I've been talking with a few entities about ways to beef up the laws to protect against human trafficking, because that is a big, major issue. As much as some people like to pretend that it doesn't exist, talk to law enforcement. I would also like to find a way to promote the benefits of marriage. Now, this is a regular session, not a fiscal session, so we can't really focus on tax credits per se, but there might be some other policy tweaks that we could use to promote marriage, because as you know, the benefits of marriage, especially concerning children, the stability of a household with mom and dad in it, they're undeniable. And then I have a few other bills that all pertain to things like vaccine mandates, health mandates, such as a bill that might prohibit vaccines from being administered at a daycare center or a school because of some troubles that we saw in the past year.
Would that apply to everything, though? I mean, are we talking, there's a lot of, when your kids go off to college, they have to take some kind of vaccines before they're in the dorm.
Well, many of the students in college have reached the age of majority. Right. I'm more focused on what goes on on a school campus where there are minors, especially those too young to speak for themselves.
Right. So I guess it never stops, right? So we go right from one thing to the next, and you're right. Look, this is not going to be the last time we wear masks and worried about some other kind of vaccine. So hopefully it's not bad. Beryl, thank you so much for joining us.
It's always a pleasure.
We appreciate it. That'll do it for this edition of Bayou Time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.